What's up, people? Welcome to another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best music podcast, talking about everything brutal, new death, hard slam, grind, thrash, core, metal, hip-hop. I'm one half of your hosting duo, Jay Horsecow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious Tim Minister Jr. Tim, how are you doing?
Great.
Great. Joining us from sunny California, Sony recording artist Skribbal. Back again. Skribbal, thanks for joining.
What's popping? It's been too long.
It definitely has. It definitely has. So Skribbal chased us down to do this episode. He wanted us to do a deep dive about, I don't even know how to intro this, so I'm just going to come out and say it because it's definitely new metal adjacent. Kid Rock. And I think this was his fourth studio album, his major label debut, 1998's Devil Without a Cause. So this is his fourth album. I have never. So Skribbal, you are obviously way more educated on this stuff than we are. Yeah. And I didn't go into the back catalog, but I gotta admit, I did listen to this album. Not afraid to lie. I enjoyed it. I really did. Is this a stylistic departure for him comparatively to the older stuff? Was this like what made this so big for his major label debut? What's the historical reference that Tim and I don't know?
Well, if you go back, he released his first album in like 89, 90, and that was on Jive Records, and that was basically produced by Too Short. Produced the album, and it was a straight old school hip hop album. It's Vanilla Ice with curse words. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, it's some real Detroit shit, and if you're outside of Detroit, you know, before the internet, you probably have no idea what the fucking album is. So he started off as a straight up hip hop artist. He had a flat top, Fresh Prince style, and you know, he got dropped from Jive, and then he went on and did two independent records, The Polyfuse Method and Early Morning Stone Pimp, and those were pretty much straight hip hop records. Polyfuse is very Paul's Boutique, Beastie Boys influenced, and Early Morning Stone Pimp is almost a G-Funk record. So this album is really the first all live instrumentation, live band, and it popped at the right time. Everything just fucking lined up for Kid Rock with Devil Without a Cause.
I'll tell you what, man. When these singles were hitting the radio, it was fucking all over the place.
It was huge. I mean, I remember first finding Kid Rock. I'm going to date myself. Ozfest 97. They gave out postcards where you sent in a $5 check and they sent you a 2 CD set of like, not just the bands on the album, not just the bands on the tour, but it was a whole bunch of bands. And there was a Kid Rock track. And I'm like, what is this, fucking hip hop? But the more I listened to it, the more I enjoyed it. And you want to talk about Skribbal was talking about how this was his first attempt at being like a country rock and rap star. Go back and watch him come out at Woodstock 99. And if you don't get hype watching that video, regardless if you like his music, his personality or not, there is no way you won't be sitting there fucking grinning. He comes out in the fucking fur coat and the hat. Like, I'm sorry, man. You can't help but giggle. Yeah, you can't help but laugh and be like, yo, this guy's ready to party. That's amazing.
And he wears it the whole set, doesn't he?
No, he takes off the coat and the hat. And
he literally, like a true pimp, he has someone to take his coat and his hat and his cane.
That's fucking hilarious.
But you're right, Tim. This shit blew up. It was all over the radio. Which is
fucking over,
which is surprising because there was a decent amount of cursing in it. But I got to be honest, man, that when I went back through this, I was like, what is this going to be like to listen to? Because I haven't heard it in 20-something years. There are some pretty damn good songs in this album. I mean, I would argue that the first half of the album is super, super, super solid. Super solid.
Yeah.
Whoa, what was the first single?
I'd argue the whole album is super solid.
What was the first single? Was it Baba Taba?
I think so.
I think it was. Yeah.
There's no way it's not. That or Cowboy.
So get this. The first single was Welcome to the Party.
Wow.
In July of 98. Then it was Bull God. Then it was Ba With Da Ba. Then it was Cowboy. Then it was Only God Knows Why, which is where I think that's probably the song that really made him just him explode.
I think Ball with the Ball, that was the third single you said?
Yeah.
Third single, that's when, because he kind of had the Appetite for Destruction thing where it was kicking around for a little bit, but it took a few singles to really hit. And I think Ball with the Ball is when it hit. And that was like a half a year after it dropped.
Yeah, because I remember it was like Nicer Weather when that came out. Because I remember my buddy had a trampoline in his backyard, and they always had the radio on. That song was probably on like every other 3 minutes.
April of '99.
Yeah. So I mean, that's and like the whole summer, that was the song that people were, you know what I mean, jamming.
Yeah.
Which is, it's just crazy to think of, because it's like back then, you know, with the whole new metal thing going on, it's like I don't even really consider it a new metal record at all.
No, but I think he was adjacent.
Yeah. I mean, I
he
could
was
see
adjacent.
It's heavy guitars and rapping over it, so you know it's automatically going to be thrown in the new metal category. But I look at it, you know, aside from my nostalgic trip for it, because my sisters used to listen to the shit when I was a little kid when it first came out. But I now look at it like an underground hip hop record. I mean, it was a natural progression of what he was doing up until that point. You know what I mean? And if you took out all the live instruments and just left the beats and the bass in there, it would be the same thing as the last two records.
Mm-hmm.
So what? Tell us why does this record resonate with you so much?
I don't know. Like I said, dude, I got a nostalgic thing for it. I don't know if I'd be a fan if I listened to it for the first time today. Yeah, I don't know, because it's so fucking ingrained in my white trash body, bro, that I'm just fucking. And here's the other thing, like, I grew up, you know, fucking poor as shit. We literally had to move every other month because we were getting kicked out of everywhere we lived. Trailers, barns. I'm like, you know, fucking white trash life. And this was basically the soundtrack to that life. So I got a real deep connection to it. And I don't know. I listen to it all the time still, and I don't get sick of any of it. You know,
Well,
it's just in my fucking heart.
how much of this is like a community thing as well? Like from where you're growing up. Like, was it a community thing too, where people were listening to it a lot?
Yeah. I think all the
Okay.
young people were listening to it. The older people in their, you know, late 20s, early 30s, like my pops, who was a Slayer fan, like he wasn't having none of the shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So nobody older than us kids liked the album, of what I remember.
And if you
Yeah.
look at him as an artist stylistically, he was the first guy to really do some sort of country hip hop, unless I'm mistaken. And it makes it really unique. It made it really unique. Like there's some songs with I guess Cowboy, right? There's a blues harmonica on it. He's got the mouth harp. The you know what? Whenever I think about this album, I think about the line in Bob to Bob where he calls out the chicks with beepers, and then he has the pager sound in the background. And I remember like being all confused, like, yo, where's my pager? Because I thought that was beeping, and I didn't realize, oh shit, it was part of the song. But yeah, I mean, I really like some of this stuff. I really do. And when you look back at what he's done, and even like Christ, where his career has gone, was it the next album with American Badass? Was that the next album? That's where all of a sudden, like, everybody and their mother came out of the woodwork, because he took that riff and did something really awesome with it.
Well, and a little fun fact that I looked up today: this is the 66th best-selling album of all time.
Wow.
No shit.
14 times platinum.
Holy shit.
Holy
man.
shit.
So he was pretty much set just on this record. Like,
he never had to do anything again after this.
Now, see, there's always this thing that like people were always hating Kid Rock because like he always says like straight out the trailer, blah 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 blah. But then I hear like his dad was like this major like car salesman and owned a bunch of stuff. Now, what's the truth to this?
So the truth is somewhere in between. Like, he's definitely responsible for pushing that image, but also the label. You know, I feel like the label more pushed the image, because the label's the one setting up the fucking ball with the ball shoot at a fucking trailer park. The label's the one, you know, doing all this kind of shit. But at the same time, Kid Rock was saying early on, like, I want to make a shit kicking redneck rock hip hop record. And he early on formed this idea of like a trailer park pimp persona. You know what I mean? But at the same time as all that, he has said in songs and in any interview, you could really go listen to any interview. He's never, ever claimed that he wasn't from the suburbs, that he didn't live 40 miles outside of Detroit, that, you know, he even says in songs, you know, he says that shit in songs. And what's always gold don't always glitter. So I take another puff from my one hitter. You know what I mean? Like he has another line about you didn't want to sell cars because my dad was a dick. So he's out there saying like,
Right.
look, I'm a fucking redneck and I'm not from the hood or whatever, you know what I mean? But it is kind of confusing. I understand why people would be confused at that. It's I don't really know. It's all those things combined, you know?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm looking here at the charts too. So when the release for the album, it hits number 4 on the Billboard 200. I mean, and back then in '98, what's the big genre? It's, you know, R&B, hip hop. I mean, to hit number 4 back then, that's a pretty big fucking like feat, man.
I'm amazed.
Yeah, I mean, even after the year end, it's still at number 15. So it only moves up 11. I mean, that's staying power right there, man. That's crazy.
That's pretty crazy. It debuted there or it climbed there?
It climbed first week to number 4. It ended on the year at 15, and then on the decade, it's still at 79 on the 200.
Wow. That is amazing, right? Like 11 times platinum in the States, 4 times platinum in Canada. I mean, that is unreal.
So technically, that's a diamond record, right? 15 mil.
Yeah. Well, Canada, they do it different. Their platinum is only 100,000. So right now he's got 11.46 million sold. Wow. But even still, that's insane for a hip hop record, for a 4th album for a guy doing his own take on a genre, which was already popular. And that is just nuts.
Now the other thing is, I don't know if I have both of you on my Facebook, but I go off on my Facebook about Kid Rock and I defend this motherfucker
Yeah, you do.
to the death. And I have a lot of my fans are juggalos, and the Juggalo ICP Kid Rock connection, there's a lot of beef there and shit like that from the early days of Detroit. So I go ham on these motherfuckers, bro. I don't care what you think about this dude, like on a political level, or if you think he's white trash, or you think he's a racist, like all that stuff. Like, I know the history of this dude, and nobody worked harder than this motherfucker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
he put in the work, man. He put in the work. Whether you agree, like you said, Skribbal, no matter whether you agree with him politically or not, that has nothing fucking to do with it.
Oh, yeah,
this motherfucker put in the work to get himself where he did. This is his 4th album. He kept at it for 4 albums over a decade, right?
Not only that, he was very smart with the way he would, when he was local in Detroit, he was the biggest shit in Detroit. Before dude, nobody knew who the fuck Eminem was until the Eminem or the Slim Shady LP came out. Nobody even in Detroit knew who the fuck he was except D12. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everyone was looking up to Kid Rock, Esham, and ICP. Those were the dudes fucking making noise. And Kid Rock would do these little things like he would only play two shows a year because he didn't want to oversaturate himself in his big market. So when he would play a show, it would be the Detroit Theater, and it would be packed to the fucking gills because he didn't play 80 shows that year. He played 2. Yeah. And he would look fucking huge. You know what I mean? And then that eventually got A&Rs and shit to come check him out. Like, he really was smart with it. He was selling hundreds of thousands of copies independently before E40 fucking blew up doing it. You know what I mean? Before fucking Master P blew up doing it. Or maybe around the same time Master P was doing it.
Even that statement, Skribbal, is totally insane. I don't think our younger listeners realize that guys like him, guys like Jay-Z, they were literally moving 100,000 CDs out of the back of their cars.
Yeah.
So he's the OG Detroit backpack hustler.
Yeah. Yeah. And all these motherfuckers, you know, in the hip hop, I don't know if it's specifically the culture today or if they were saying this 20 years ago in the hip hop culture. The term culture vulture is applied heavily to Kid Rock. And that's because everyone thinks he just went country. And I guarantee you, all those people who say, oh, fuck that, he went country after the first album, you've never listened to a full album after that. Because if you did, you would know that's bullshit. And if you listen to albums before that, you would know he's been doing country. On his first album, he had tons of, I mean, the main song is Yodel in Your Valley. And there's literally a yodel break where he goes, yodelate, yodelate, yodelate.
Oh my God.
In the fucking song. You know what I mean? So he's been doing that shit. But anyway, keep me on track because it's easy for me to get sidetracked with all this.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, no, you're good.
How much of you liking this is you being a hip hop artist too, though?
I think people laugh at me when I say this, but he's like in my top 5 most influential rappers to me of all time.
I don't see it.
Nothing wrong with that.
I say that knowing R.A. the Rugged Man and Benny Paz and all these motherfuckers who could destroy Kid Rock on a lyrical level. But Kid Rock is not a lyrical guy. He's about bravado. He's about cadence. His cadence is fucking ill. And he's about, you know, it's really all about cadence and bravado with him. It's not about lyricism and being the illest on the mic and all this shit. So,
would it surprise you if I told you I think R.A. is the best white rapper ever?
No, because I agree with you.
Yeah, 100% He's the best white rapper ever.
I would throw in Cage.
Okay.
Cage. I would throw in Ill Bill.
Yeah.
On that and Necro, shit like that. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'd say RA is probably. I mean, that's definitely up for debate.
Now that I'm thinking about it, we need to do an episode, us 3, and we'll get Jay to listen to it because I'm very familiar. We should do an episode about Necro and Ill Bill and all them because if you think about it, all them dudes are in the same circles with the metal and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Especially Necro. I mean, Necro he has albums called like something metal and all that. I forget what it's called, but
yeah, I mean,
them dudes are all metalheads.
He's got albums with fucking dudes from Anthrax and Megadeth and fucking.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So that's probably a great episode to have people on we can bullshit about.
Yeah, I'd be down for that because that's it. You want to talk about a genre I never really went into. That's definitely something I'd be interested to hear it for the first time with virgin ears and see how it comes across.
Yeah, I mean, like the horrorcore genre and all that kind of stuff is all based in metal. It's all there's metal samples all over the place in them records.
That's also the reason horrorcore sucks.
Well,
a lot of it is because a lot of the horrorcore guys are guys who never listen to hip hop. They're from the metal scene and they want to rap and be scary and they sound corny as fuck. Other than, you know, the great ones, because there's some great horrorcore artists. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'd be totally down for that. And Ill Bill, you know, Ill Bill and Necro are brothers. And,
yeah.
And those are the most rugged white boys from Brooklyn ever, bro. So that'd be a great episode.
Before we get back into Kid Rock, there's an artist I want you to check out. He's out of Philly called OT The Real. Probably one of the best rappers out right now. White dude.
I've heard the name. I'll have to check it out.
Really good shit. I'll send it to you on Facebook.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Esham, and he was on Tattoo the Earth, I think.
Was he?
I think so. He's that's a Detroit guy. Horrorcore, right? Or the beginnings of horrorcore?
Yeah,
Wasn't that him?
He's the guy who ICP and Kid Rock and Champtown, a lot of the underground Detroit guys learned from Esham, because Esham and Awesome Dre were the 2 Detroit rappers who were popping before anybody in the 80s, in the mid to late 80s, and they inspired all the big white boys who came out of Detroit. It's funny that Detroit is known, you know, such a big hip hop scene, but the biggest motherfuckers are Kid Rock, Eminem, and ICP, and they're all kind of stylistically similar.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true.
But you know what I like about this Kid Rock record is I like how he didn't go out of his you know, his hometown to record this because it's recorded in Detroit, which means a lot to me because if you're going to talk about all that stuff all the time, you should probably stay in your region and record it there. You know, give the recording place people there, you know, the money and the
Mhm.
you know the fame of doing the record.
It was recorded the same place he recorded his last two albums, Polyfuse and
Okay.
Early Morning Stone Pimp. It's the White Room Studios, and he was recording this the exact same time that Eminem was recording Slim Shady LP.
Okay.
And
Which is wild.
all the scratching that you hear on Slim Shady LP, that's all Kid Rock.
Oh, is it? Oh shit.
That's
Okay.
wild.
That's the reason Eminem is on Devil Without a Cause. It was a favor for a favor. And Eminem's famous story about recording his verse for this album was this the first time he'd ever done cocaine. And he went over to the White Room with Kid Rock, and Kid Rock just laid out this ridiculous line of cocaine. And Eminem was so fucked up, like he hates that verse. Like he feels like his verse was really fucked because of that coke. But I love that story. I mean, well, it can't get more perfect for this album. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone else we could have got on for this record but you, because me and Jay would have been like, "What? We don't know shit." So.
That is wild. Yeah, I'm looking at the quote here. I pulled it up on Wikipedia. Kid Rock was in quote full party mode with tons of different drugs just laid out near the studio mixing board. There were Playboy playmates just passed out naked with coke on their nose. It was overwhelming. I never touched that shit again. So Eminem saying that really has to add some gravitas to the scene at hand, where him saying, "Yo, I did it once. I'm never doing that again." Like that is kind of fucking nuts.
Well, you got to think too. He probably got some really good shit too.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and look, people want to talk about Kid Rock being fake in this way or that way, but you can't take that party shit ain't fake. There's countless stories like that. Steve-O from Jackass has some amazing Kid Rock stories. If you just go on YouTube and look at those, he has incredible stories just like that, but even crazier.
Yeah, they're in his book. I mean?
And there's a story when Rock was recording Early Morning Stone Pimp. Basically, the producer walked in there and was like astonished at the heroin that was. Dude, Kid Rock is the kind of dude who could just do heroin a few times and never touch it again. You know what I mean? Like he's that kind of dude where he's like, let me just snort some heroin today and fucking record this song.
Yeah, I think once you go to the syringe route, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah, and so obviously as his career progresses, right, there's Lynyrd Skynyrd covers, there's Bob Seger covers, there's all sorts of stuff. He always had that country side to him. Who did he drag with him, Skribbal? Like, so he gets big, and obviously when these, it's a lot like a local metal band gets big, right? It creates a giant vacuum that pulls people with him. Who are people that you one could argue that his success begat their success?
Well, it's nobody good. Maybe Crazy Town or something. I don't know. Tommy Lee's Methods of Mayhem. I don't know, man. I know Uncle Cracker had a big career, and he was basically a nobody who couldn't even DJ when Kid Rock met him. And Kid Rock was just like, well, I need a DJ live on stage, so I'll just teach you everything. And then look at him. He's a fucking millionaire on his albums.
How about that new dude? I don't know how new he is, but that dude Jelly Roll, isn't he like sort of the same kind of like artist?
Yeah. If we're talking, I was thinking more in like the era.
Oh, the era. Okay.
But yeah, Jelly Roll for sure. Basically every single one of these country rappers cite Kid Rock as their biggest influence. Okay. Every one of them. Which I'm not even on that shit like that. I mean, I respect it, and some of it's pretty good, but yeah.
But it's cool to think about how this guy birthed an entire genre. A whole new. It's like when when we first talked about the first Korn album, right? These guys came out of nowhere and created a genre out of whole cloth that had never existed before. He arguably did the same thing.
Yeah. And by the way, real quick on the Korn thing, could you argue, now I know that if we're talking influence, it's undoubtedly going to Korn, but POD released their first album in '93 before Korn's album. And it's got more of a hardcore vibe, but he's rapping and it's pretty new metal. Have you
I
heard
think
it?
we talked about this before.
Yeah,
and
we did talk about this.
yeah.
Yeah.
I listened to it after
Um,
that episode. Yep.
I think if it had got more recognition, it might have been way more influential than it might have, because it was the precursor to a lot of that sound.
It's just a technicality. I just like to say that because I'm such a POD freak.
But I mean, there's a lot of artists. I mean, Tim and I talked about stuff like Tribal Disco Noise or Lungs from Florida, where that sound was percolating. It was out there in the ether. And I think it was just Korn hit at the right moment. They had the right aesthetic, and the songs worked. So the songs were well done, but they also had a very unique aesthetic for the time, coming out of grunge and shit, that it took off for them.
Yeah. They were the best ones out of all of them. Let's fucking be honest. And
they set the pace.
All of them that were kind of doing that kind of thing at that time, Korn had the best songs.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Tim, I'm committing this to tape so we come back and do it, but we do need to do a POD deep dive. We need to have Skribbal back on and do that one. Maybe do like the first couple albums, because that would be a fun conversation, because arguably they get better as their career goes on. Arguably.
I think Satellite's a perfect record.
Oh, that was I liked the one before, the fundamental elements of Southtown. I really liked that. Satellite was them going up a whole notch. Right. This is big radio rock shit. And they just hit it.
Satellite sounds to this day like one of the biggest records you've ever fucking heard. It just sounds huge.
Yeah, the recording is fucking incredible.
That's Howard Benson, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Howard Benson.
Yeah, I mean, that is an amazing. That is, for me, a top 10 record for recording wise.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It sounds amazing, dude. Like, you don't get much cleaner than that. I mean, you don't really, like, in certain genres, you don't want a record that clean, but for that, yeah, dude, that's perfect, dude.
Yeah, that was the pinnacle of radio rock. They hit that AOR, that album-oriented rock. They nailed it.
I'd also, I mean, I would love to come on for a POD deep dive any day of the fucking week.
Definitely.
But an album that you guys have not covered yet, and it comes up a lot on the show, is Mushroomhead 13.
I've been trying to do this forever.
Yeah, we have talked about that one quite a few times. We just never got around to it. Yep.
That's a top 10 record for me in all genres.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, so you're more than welcome, dude. Because I'll talk about that record all fucking day.
So back to Kid Rock, right? So he comes out with this album. He's obviously been at it for a minute. The singles start to hit. He starts to break. Did he have any videos? I don't remember him. Was he bouncing around MTV? I don't remember.
Yeah. The first video, I guess it does make sense that the first single was Rock the Party, or not. See, I'm going back to POD, Rock the Party Off the Hook. Welcome to the Party. And it's a pool video where they're all chilling outside the pool. And it's a very 90s hip hop video. And then they did a video for Bull God, which I think is probably the coolest video from the album.
Oh, I remember that now. I'm
now
trying to think what it was. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm about to bring it up on YouTube while we're talking real quick. I want to see what this looks like.
If you look in his eyes, and according to the stories on the set, they had to like shoot this for fucking hours and hours and hours because Kid Rock was so high on heroin that
Jesus,
they just had to keep redoing shit. And if you could see it in his eyes in certain shots, it was like, damn, this dude is fucking gone.
But so the album comes out, he does it, the singles, there's videos, they start piling up, he starts getting famous. I think for me, the Woodstock moment is where it really broke. That I think is where it broke. Because you realize that this guy he's not just a recording artist, he's not just a guy who does some awesome stuff in the studio. He brings it live, and he put on an amazing show. And I think, didn't at one point, I haven't seen the whole set in a long time, Skribbal, keep me honest. Didn't at one point he gets behind the drums? At one point he plays the drums. Doesn't he play the guitar? He scratches, like he literally works his way around the band. I think
he's been doing that since the early 90s. Well, I should say he's always had a turntable on stage, and he would go up there and cut, because he started as a DJ. That's how he got his name. Is he would go to he was a fucking brat, and he didn't want no responsibilities. So his parents fucking kicked his ass out the house, and he moved to the hood in Detroit. and started DJing basement parties. And that's how he got his name. Everyone would say the white kid that rocks. You know what I mean? Rocks the turntables.
Ah,
And so he was playing guitar. He would pick up a bass. And, the Polyfuse Method, he plays a bunch of shit on there. And it's not like he's some half-assed musician who could play a little bit of everything. Like this guy, you could look up videos recently, old. He can fucking really, really play everything.
which is wild for a hip hop artist. It's wild.
How many views do you think Ball to Ball has on the video for YouTube?
I'm gonna say 50 million.
You're close. 44 million.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But it's funny. You think of people think that that don't follow Kid Rock that's his biggest song, but really All Summer Long is his biggest song. At least on Spotify, it's like fucking 200 million hits.
Yeah, Cowboy has 62 million views.
That is.
I mean,
and to think about, YouTube came out, what was it, almost 10 years after the album, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2006, 2007, I think, was when YouTube really took off.
Yeah.
That is insane. So it's not even like, it's not even like he got hit. He lost views or anything due to piracy or anything. That is shit. The guy sold 14 million records.
And remember, he relicensed out Polyfuse Method and Early Morning Stone Pimp and sold hundreds of thousands of those. Cocky is triple platinum. History of Rock is double platinum. The Kid Rock is self-titled is gold. And then he came back. It took about 4 years, and he came back with Rock and Roll Jesus, which had All Summer Long and Amen and all those hits, and that went double platinum. And then Born Free is platinum.
So this dude just prints Kid Rock money. It's
insane. It's insane.
So it's so funny to me. People say he fell off. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You know what I think it is, man? Not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but I wanted to get this point in here. What I think it is people see him as a different person now because of the political shit. Let's be honest, that's just what it is. Because if you're any way affiliated with Trump, you're automatically a racist these days. So that kind of hits him hard. But the good thing for him is he already sold his records. He's already done it. So he doesn't need your acceptance.
Right. Like at this point, he's in middle age. He's got his platinum records. He's done his shit. He's like, yeah, I lean conservative now. I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel. And
but he's probably always leaned that way.
Probably, yeah.
Well, back in the day, the epitome of Kid Rock in the late 90s, early 2000s was I don't give a fuck. I ain't here to fucking give you no message. I'm here to fucking party. And then what I understand, once he did go more in the country direction, started getting country hits. And I think as you get older and you're fucking successful like that, like, yeah, I think you do lean conservative. You know what I mean? Like, it's probably hard not to. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, who gives a fuck? What happened to separating the art from the art from the artist? I still bump R. Kelly. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, Michael Jackson's still on the radio. I mean, yeah, that's an episode we'd probably get ourselves canceled for that one. But
I guarantee you, half these people who hate Kid Rock with a fucking passion, because there are millions of them. It seems like millions of them. They're probably Michael Jackson fans, R. Kelly fans. You know what I mean? Like all these. Yeah. No one's got a clean fucking slate, motherfucker.
Yeah, we could do
got 80 million Trump supporters.
We could do a really interesting the conversation of separating the art from the artist. I've had this debate on Facebook with other people about other reasons, and I believe it nuance. It does come down to what the person does, right? Because let's be honest with you, Tim and I talked about Skribbal, Lost Prophets. Those that one album they did. It's an amazing album, but you can't even really listen to it now because he's a terrible person. So I pulled up Kid Rock on Spotify. All Summer Long, which is not this album, it's 3 albums later, has 383 million streams.
Yeah.
This Sheryl Crow song, The Picture, 151 million listens. And then right behind it is Baba Taba Cowboy, Only God Knows Why, 94, 87, 53. That is a lot. That is a lot. He's got 4.4 million monthly listeners. Monthly.
Yeah.
So if you times that by 0.00004, which is probably what they pay people.
Oh, he's made like $8.40. Yeah. Yeah.
$8.
But that's insane. Like, that's insane volumes.
Well, don't forget, he don't need streaming money. First, like you said, he's already made his millions and millions. But also he has Kid Rock beer. He's got fucking the craziest merch. Like he does crazy numbers on everything he does.
What was the year that Napster came out? Was that 2000 or 2001?
2000.
And so he was one of the last artists to get in right before it. To get in right before torrenting and file sharing became the thing. He was one of the last artists to get in before it, and that's why he booked the numbers that he did.
There's a great interview with on Much Music, and they ask him, it's from like mid 2000, and they ask him, what do you think about Napster and people illegally downloading music? And he's like, I don't give a fuck. I already made jillions. Do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's
it's like,
right.
It's like Metallica. Give it up already.
Yeah, seriously.
Fucking the Black Record sells 7,000 copies a week still.
Yeah,
what the fuck you crying about?
For real.
Like Lars is still crying.
Yeah, we should fund Nick Box to do a documentary on who is still buying the Black Album. Like, I wanted to travel the country and like go to like random record stores and be like, yo, I'm just going to hang out here until somebody buys the Black Album because I want to interview them. Because like you said, Tim, that number is not an exaggeration. It is still one of the top selling records in the country. Who is still buying it?
It's crazy, and I can never listen to fucking Enter Sandman or Sad But True or fucking Nothing Else Matters ever again in my life.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna go to the Billboard 200 right now and see where it's at right now while we're talking, because now I need to know.
So Skribbal, while Tim's looking that up, for our listeners that are not necessarily into hip hop, not necessarily into this type of music, if they like this, what would you suggest they also check out, maybe in the same vein, but also pushing their taste a bit? If you like this, maybe you want to lean into what? What would be a little bit outside of this that somebody might actually really enjoy?
For hip hop artists, I'd say what we were talking about, Ill Bill, Vinnie Paz, Jedi Mind Tricks. If you like the more hip hop side, if you like the fact that Kid Rock raps, if you like his cadence, all that kind of stuff, if you want that elevated with real lyrical ability, I'd go, Jedi Mind Tricks, Apathy, Self-Titled, all that kind of stuff, that real underground grimy shit. If you like the more rock shit, I can't imagine you're not already a Limp Bizkit fan or like into nu metal. I'd say nu metal is what, if you like the rock side of it, is probably what you'll like more, So
if I was saying Skribbal, say we have someone who they're into nu metal, this is their first time really getting into hip hop. If you could suggest a hip hop album that might not even be like this, but it's something that you think somebody should take a chance on because it might touch on their palate, they might really enjoy it, what would be your dark horse suggestion?
There's so many. Nonfiction, The Future Is Now.
Okay,
great.
That's a group with Ill Bill, Gore-Tex, now Lord Goat. It was basically put together by MC Search in the mid 90s. It's a raw, dark, underground hip hop album. The CIA Is Trying to Kill Me is a great song. The Deftones are on the album. The entire band do a song with nonfiction.
That's awesome.
It's not a remake, a remix, none of that shit. It's fucking full on Deftones nonfiction. And I don't even like the Deftones, but that song bangs.
Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
Metallica, as of right now, which is January 4th, 2023, they're at number 123 on the Billboard 200. Last week, they were at 93. Their peak position was number 1, and weeks on chart, 692 weeks straight, which equals 13 and a half years.
That is
Poor
13 and a half fucking years they've been on this chart. And that is probably, it has to be longer because this record came out in 1991, I think, right?
yeah.
That's fucking outrageous.
All I can think is poor Dave Mustaine.
yeah, right.
Right?
But you know who gets paid from this album weekly? Is fucking the old bass player.
Newstead doesn't have to work because of this album. And there was an interview he did not too long ago. I think we talked about it, Tim, where
I'm sick of that motherfucker talking about this every goddamn interview.
Yeah. He came out and he said he made her, and he didn't say, well, I don't have to work. But he made a remark where, the residuals from that album are pretty healthy to the point where I can afford to experiment. And he was playing with what? He went back and played with Nuclear Assault. And I think he played with Flotsam. Flotsam and Jetsam. He played with Flotsam and Jetsam.
I would know if he went and played with Nuclear Assault.
Yeah, because that's Dan Lilker's stomping grounds. But I mean, every time I think of him, I think of that story of Lorenzo Antonucci from Sworn Enemy, where he was on Doc Coyle's podcast and he talked about how he was hitting on Jason Newsted's girlfriend and didn't realize it was Jason Newsted's girlfriend. And at one point, Jason Newsted comes over to him and he's like, "Hey, buddy, I don't know if you want to be messing me." And Lorenzo said something to him like, "Motherfucker, I know who you are. I have a justice for all." Like, that was his response to Jason Newsted. I'm like, that.
So, in other words, I know who you are. I've never heard your bass playing in my life. I have justice for
right. What do you do? Hit me with that thing?
That guy is a fucking walking cliche in interviews. Like, he's all, people say, and he says this in so many interviews, people say we sold out. Yeah, every night. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up, dude. I get it. Anyway,
so let's go to this track listing real quick. We're not going to go through every song because I couldn't tell you a goddamn thing. But out of 14 tracks, well, you have a Japanese bonus edition that's sick, that has Welcome to the Party. Oh, these are live tracks and Ball to Ball. So out of 14 tracks here, it comes in at
too long.
Shit, it doesn't say actually.
It's like 80 minutes.
But Jay, what's your favorite track on this record?
It's probably Ba with the Ba.
Okay. Go ahead.
But I mean, again, for me, Ba with the Ba, Cowboy, Devil Without the Cause, I Am a Bull God, Roving Gangster, Wasting Time. Those 6 right there. I really enjoy those 6 songs. And then I put it on and I'm working and I hear it and I'm singing along and I'm nodding my head. And then I get to like track 9, track 10, and I'm like, I don't know these. And I go, I want to go back to the beginning. And I would rewind the album back to the beginning because those are the songs that I remember that I really enjoy. I mean, I think this is a real solid album. It's definitely not in my taste wheelhouse, but those first 6 tracks, Tim, and we've deep dove a lot of albums where sequencing is key, and bang, 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 bang. I mean, that sells people. That sells people.
How about you, Skribbal?
Every fucking song, dude. I love every song on here. There is a song. It's easier for me to point out a song I don't like as much, and that is Fist of Rage.
Okay.
Fist of Rage is his. Someone at the label came in and said, we need something that's like Rage Against the Machine, and he's like, let me half-ass fucking do this. I guarantee you he's not a Rage fan. Doesn't seem like the type of dude who's in Rage Against the Machine. And he yells, "I'm a Fist of Rage," and it's bad. That's the one song I don't like. I loved it as a kid. But every other song I fucking love on. Actually, another one, Black Chick, White Guy. I'm not big on that, but I don't really consider that part of the album because that's on Early Morning Stone Pimp, too.
Okay. Oh, yeah, this says I Am the Bull God remix, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
hidden at the end of it, yeah.
I am not afraid to admit it. I'm a self-proclaimed, I do not like Kid Rock at all. I just don't. It just doesn't gel with me at all. But if I had to go a track that I could deal with, it would be Bull God, because that's the track, like I said, when I remember in the backyard of my buddy's house every fucking day in the summer, this song would be on. And then they eventually bought the record. And, so I'm very familiar with the record. Don't get me wrong. I just never stuck with me as something I would go back and listen to.
I mean, come on, dude. Just the line, I'm I like pussy sucking on titties. That line
well,
alone
listen,
got me in, bro.
just because I don't like the record doesn't mean I don't appreciate him as an artist, because anyone that can do what he did, I fucking respect very, very highly.
Yeah, go back and listen to "I Am the Bull God," just the guitar parts, right? The
Well,
stuff
that's why I like
the
that.
stuff he does
track,
with the
yeah.
wah pedals and some of the country picking, and you can tell at one point he breaks out the slide guitar like that. It's truly this is how I think this is where I'm going to make the case that it's new metal adjacent. We always talk about new metal was more of a vibe and an aesthetic of people going for it and trying new things. This guy was literally trying new things that had never been done before.
And fun fact about Bull God, this song was on his demo series that every month he released a monthly demo series for, local when he was in Detroit. And this was a song from 1994 is when this song came out originally. And it's not a lot different from the album version. It just sounds a lot better. You know what I mean? As far as recording.
Yeah. I mean, I think the 90s was the best decade of music. I mean, I was born in 83, so I can't really say. I mean, 80s is probably second for me because I think there's a lot of great 80s music, but like the 90s, I mean, it's to get that big doing this in the late 90s. Like, I respect that kind of shit because, like you said too, he put in the work and then you get rewarded for it, because there's a lot of artists these days that don't do shit. And they just put out some mumbling, bumbling bullshit on SoundCloud, and all of a sudden they're selling. You know what I mean? Like, and Skribbal could tell you that because he's in the hip hop world. So like he, if anyone knows, it's you. So
I 100% agree with you.
Some dudes just get lucky. So why you brought it up, Tim? Skribbal, what's going on with you, man? What are you doing project wise now? What do you got going on?
Well, 2022, I did a lot. I released an EP in January called "In Their Blood and From the Gutter," and there was a concept EP about David Berkowitz. So it was all, serial killer shit. And then during the summer, I released 3 mixtapes, all brand new material, 20 tracks each. June 1st, Volume 1, July 1st, Volume 2, August 1st, Volume 3. And then I did a couple singles. And then I did in December, I released another EP, which was a concept EP called Road to Dystopia. And that is basically totally different from the first EP because it's my love of Bob Hope and Bing Crosby and Dorothy Lamour. And so it's all basically samples from the 40s, all references from 40s movies and shit like that. So this year, I'm doing an album, but I'm going the single route. I'm going to release this 1 single a month, and drop the album in like October. So that's pretty much, I'm chilling out a little bit. The album's called Hit 'Em with the Death Blow. And that'll be out in like October. But I got other projects I'm working with. I can't say the name right now, but he's heavily affiliated with Wu-Tang Clan. And we're doing an entire project together. And I got another kind of underground supergroup thing I'm doing too. So
nice.
I'll tell you what, man. I really, really enjoyed Black Eyed Children. That's a great record, dude. Seriously.
Yeah, that was a great listen.
Thank you, guys.
It's really good, man. There's a lot of great beats on that record. See, that's what I want to ask you about because I don't remember if we got into this last time, but like the beat selection, dude. Like you keep it in like the boom bap kind of like area. But there's a little more upbeat stuff. But like the beat selection is just great because I think a lot of rappers, they don't really think about that in the long run for people like me or Jay or something. Because like, if you can get the beats good, then people are going to listen to it. Because when I hear rap, like I like a lot of rappers, but they rap over trash beats and I can't listen to it.
Well, Nas is one of the greatest rappers of all time. But after Illmatic, it's like, what are you doing picking these fucking beats, dude?
They're horrible, dude. No, you're 100% right.
The same thing with one of my all-time favorite rappers is Cannabis. And Cannabis has one of the worst fucking ears for beats. Yet he's one of the most lyrical, can rip apart pretty much fucking anybody. Yet his beat selection is god-awful trash. He's got like 2 great records with great beats on them. And he's got like 80 records.
Yeah, it's kind of like when 50 was first coming out, like the beat selections were just fucking crazy good. And then as he got more popular, they got more mainstream. But like,
I mean, he's like reverse of Nas and Cannabis. He's like he had dope beats, but he couldn't rap for shit.
well,
That's his name.
I actually think he's not bad at all, to tell you the truth. But like,
I couldn't disagree more.
well, I mean, it's the kind of same thing for me with like Mobb Deep, because like the first 3-4 records are all bangers,
Yeah.
and then as they got older, it's like, where are your ears going? Because this shit is trash. But I understand I understand why hip hop artists do that, because it's all about radio play and getting money.
Yeah.
Because if you're not in this to get money, you're a fucking asshole, and if you're gonna tell me you're not, you're more than an asshole. So
Yeah. Yeah, and 50 Cent, I'll give him his props for that early shit before he was signed to Shady and all that, or Aftermath. I think he was a decent rapper, you know what I mean? But I'm an underground guy, so I'm not gonna really fuck with 50 Cent that much.
no, I hear you.
But yeah,
But like,
yeah,
underground stuff like we were talking about earlier, like all the necro and stuff, like the beats are always great, man. And that's what keeps me coming back to stuff like that.
I love. Here's the thing. In 20 years, are we gonna look back like we're looking back 20 years from the 90s and be like those beats hold up? Because beats in the 90s hold the fuck up. The mass majority of them. Why? Because they're boom bap.
Yep.
Fucking.
Because they make you bob your head like this.
Yes.
It's all the classic shit. Is trap beats gonna be fucking hailed like it is today in 20 years? I feel like it's not. And I don't even hate trap. I love trap beats. That's the thing about trap beats, is you could be the worst rapper ever and have a fucking hit because the beat bangs, because there's so much going on in it with the 808s and the everything like that. But I like boom bap, classic sounding shit that'll sound good in 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, you can, like, it's like if you put on 36 chambers or whatever it's called, I forget, I'm an asshole.
Yeah,
like if you put that on and you don't feel them beats, man, like, come on, dude.
Oh yeah, and RZA is fucking one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, coming from the new metal, genre, if you come from new metal, say you grew up, you're 10 years old and you come out of new metal and you listen to hip hop, you see where that stuff comes from. Yeah. There's no doubt in anyone's mind that doesn't come from hip hop. So that's why, I've always listened to hip hop, and I still do, because a lot, actually.
Well, look at one of the greatest beats of all time is heavily in the new metal world, and Together Now. That's a Primo beat. And
shit, yeah.
That's fucking, that beat holds up to this day. You wouldn't put that on and be like, that sounds like 1999. Nah, that sounds fucking fresh as hell.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right on that.
Yeah. Well,
that's why we have to do a hip hop episode, because a lot of people don't realize that, artists in new metal were coming from that stuff. So,
well, and going back to Kid Rock, this is my conundrum: is I'm a hip hop head, I'm a metal head, I'm into fucking Cat Stevens and fucking all kinds of weird shit, right? And I get hate from everybody for Kid Rock. It's not just one, so it's good to know everyone hates him.
Nah, I don't hate him. I just don't like his music.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not your thing. But I mean, we could go on about 90s hip hop, and there's a reason why 90s hip hop was all over the radio, because the beats were solid and it still holds up. And you can have a Super Bowl halftime show of all late 90s hip hop artists, and everybody in the audience is enjoying it because that was the music that was on the radio that they grew up with.
And Tim, I know you don't hate Kid Rock. I mean, I know you hate his music, and you're one of the few that I can have a conversation with, and you're logical and you're fucking level-headed about it, and you understand his hustle and all that shit. You can't even have conversations with motherfuckers like you most of the time.
Well, see, the thing is, a lot of that is jealousy as well. Yeah. Because you have a lot of people who try to make music and they fail. And when they see a person that they hate, per se, like Kid Rock, they think he's a trash bag because, his music sucks. Why is he there? Because there's a thing, it's called hustle, and there's a thing called determination. Yeah. And that's what people have, and that's people that have determination fucking make it in this world. And that's just a fucking fact.
I don't give a fuck if Kid Rock went to his dad and said, "Can I have $1 million to make an album?" And his dad's like, "Yeah, here you go." he still wouldn't have popped if he didn't have that hustle.
Exactly.
Yes. You can appreciate the work that went into. It's like the band that gets in the buzz. It's like the band that gets in the van and tours and tours and tours and tours, even if you don't like their music, right? I'll give you a perfect example. Tim is not the biggest fan of Turnstile, right? Not the biggest fan of Turnstile, but none of us, anybody listening, watching, you can't knock the fucking work that they put in to get themselves
not
where
at
they
all,
did.
dude.
They toured everywhere with everybody. They were on the road. They were in the van. They were going and going and going, and they blew up. And you know what? God bless them. God bless them.
I'll never hate on anyone that gets big in music, because you know what? I wish I could have did that shit, but I didn't have the determination or the willpower for it. You know what I mean? So I respect that shit.
And I think you both would agree that there's a difference between an artist where out of nowhere they pop and get huge, versus someone who put in the work and the time and the effort and the miles to get themselves, and they eventually pop. It's like, okay, I can appreciate that. There are some bands big now in the hardcore scene. There are some bands in the deathcore scene where it seemed like out of nowhere they got big, and God bless them, right? God bless them for blowing up. I wish them all the best of success. I'm envious. I'd love to get that, but at the same time, it's not the same as that band that had a vision and they stuck to it and they toured and toured and worked and toured and worked and toured, and then something finally caught.
Well, here you go.
Look at all the old school rappers, right? And I don't even want to name names. We all know the old school rappers who they didn't have a record, they didn't really have a hustle, but they got put on because of this trend in hip hop. Maybe they got signed when gangster rap was huge, and they were just a gangster rapper. And they'd never really put in any hustle, put in any work. What happens to those guys? After they're flown to the top of the mountain, right? But after that fucking money goes away and that success goes away, they're back at the bottom of the mountain, and they don't know how to climb the fuck back up.
Yeah.
And someone like Kid Rock, if he got canceled today, right? Which he can't, he's uncancelable.
Yeah,
but if
pretty
he
much.
did, he has put in all that work where he could fucking climb his way back up that mountain.
Yep. You're right. He would get right back in a bus and say, fuck it, I'll do it guerrilla style.
That's the thing.
I'm touring, and people would turn out. Yeah.
I mean, he's 51, so he doesn't have to climb back up. He stays there. That's the thing, man.
Yeah.
Grandpa Rock, bro.
Exactly.
All right.
I kind of think this episode isn't really a dive on, Rebel Without a Cause. That's the record, right?
Yeah.
Devil,
that's it. But I kind of think this is in defense of Kid Rock himself, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. It kind of is. It kind of is. Well, we've touched on that. We've touched on hip hop. There's a lot here. I mean,
do you know the root of the title of this album? Do you know what it means?
Oh, well, I'm assuming it's a play on the James Dean Devil Without a Cause.
Right, Rebel Without a Cause.
Rebel Without a Cause, yeah.
Rebel Without a Cause. So remember the 5%ers in hip hop in the 90s? The black Israelites, you know what I mean?
Yes.
The dudes who would be out there saying the white man's the devil. A lot of the Wu-Tang affiliates, stuff like that, right? Well, this was basically Devil Without a Cause, white devil. And I ain't got no fucking cause. I ain't here to fucking preach politics. I ain't here to bring no positivity. I'm the fucking white devil, and I ain't got no cause. That's the whole point of this album cover or album title. And I think he really drills it home on every song.
Yeah, he does. He really does.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're at time. Skribbal, I want to thank you for coming on again, brother. Door is always open. We will definitely have you back on to do hip hop. We'll do POD. We want to thank everybody. Thank everybody for watching and listening again. And if you like what you heard, please give us a ring. Let us know. Twitter, Instagram, New Breed Notes Podcast. Check out this album. Check out some of the hip hop that Skribbal suggested. You're going to find some gems, and you might expand your palette and get something you don't normally listen to. So until next time, we want to thank Skribbal for coming on. And this is the New Breed Podcast saying peace.
Peace.